I'm here with Eric Viam, who has just constructed an ADU in his San Luis Obispo backyard. Hi, Eric.
Hi there.
We're going to go in, and Eric's going to show us around and tell us about his process.
Yeah, let's go take a look.
I'll give you a quick view of the outside of this ADU. It's about 14 feet high at its high point here. Downslope shed roof drops to about 11 over at this low end. So here we go. So Eric, tell us about the process of getting this built.
Sure. Thanks. So this is an accessory dwelling unit, and so California passed a law that allows us to build these. This is in the form of a tiny house, just because it fit really well in our space, but it could take a lot of different forms. Yeah, the process was about a year ago to the day, inspired by the Tiny House Expo. About a half year prior to that, I bought a set of plans for about $300 for a tiny house on wheels. And then I used that tiny house, that plan set, and worked with an architect and a structural engineer to update that for California code. And so this design reflects those changes, although it's still very much consistent with the tiny house on wheels.
And so you put it on a foundation.
Yes.
Because
Put it on a foundation because that was what was required. Tiny house on wheels is not allowable under current ordinance in San Luis Obispo, and there's potential for equity and just a permanent, really nice structure that just adds to our neighborhood here.
And so do you have any tips for working with the city and getting these permitted?
Sure. Well, first and foremost is do your homework, right? That means like reading and knowing the code yourself, working with good people, the architect and the structural engineer, and also when you submit plans, you got a bird dog to the city staff. That means like following up with emails and phone calls, knowing when their deadlines are, and so with ADUs you actually have accelerated review, with the first review being done in 2 weeks and following reviews being done in a week. And so, of course, being professional and kind, reminding them that they have an obligation around a certain timeline, and
This is under state law,
Yeah.
under the California
It's-
ADU code.
it's under state law,
Right.
exactly. And so, but in general, the city was great to work with. There was some education process, but for the most part, I think it was a smooth process. It's really the two things that I say again is like knowing the code, because that helped me to even with my architect to challenge certain ideas that they had about what was possible. And then second, really bird dogging the city staff.
Hmm. And what did your architect kind of not want to do or want to do? Was that involved with the size of this, the small size? We're at about 300 square feet.
Yeah, so this is the internal square footage is about 250 square feet with a 100 square foot loft. It was really around like nuances in the code, right? So this is considered under state law a tiny house, even though it's not on wheels. So there's a special appendix in the code.
Q, you're talking about appendix Q
Appendix
then,
Q.
for some of your ceiling heights
Ceiling
and that
heights,
stuff that your
access.
architect wasn't too
Yeah, that
familiar
they weren't
with.
familiar on, so I got to know that really well, and to say,
Okay.
well, we can do it like this, and like for example, we have a sliding door as our main door. Most people assume that it needs to be a swinging door, but the code allows for sliding. So like certain things like that, I read through the code, it wasn't that hard, and was able to point out that those things were possible.
So that was a process then of both educating your architects
Yes.
and your planning department
Yeah,
in
and
the
so
process.
This goes back to just spending a little bit extra time doing my homework and being able to knowledgeably speak to issues of concern, especially if there was something particularly I wanted to achieve with the design.
Uh-huh. And so what surprised you in this process? Or is there anything you would have done differently here in
Sure.
this tiny house?
Yeah, so one thing that I learned, so this, as I said, it was inspired by a tiny house that was on wheels. And so when we built it with a sleeping loft that has a reduced ceiling height, which
Okay.
is still really comfortable. But the ADU laws allow for up to 16 feet of height
Right.
with the 4-foot setback. And so if I had it to do over, I would take advantage of that extra height.
You would have gone up to
I
the
would have gone up to
16.
the 16, yeah.
Okay, yeah. We wondered about that with your head clearance.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's visible in this video, but the loft head clearance is around 3 to 4 feet.
It's about 4.5 here and 5.5 on the
Oh,
back
so it's
end.
up to 5.5 even.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I didn't go try to stand there. It's higher than I thought.
Yeah.
But not quite head clearance
Not
for
quite head
somebody
clearance.
of most of our heights.
Yeah, but still comfortable as a sleeping loft.
Uh-huh.
Absolutely.
Very comfortable.
Yeah.
Okay, so you would have gone up a little. And
Yeah.
anything else you would have done or might recommend for people?
You know, overall, I'd say like the schedule was pretty aggressive, right? Like to be able to turn this around in a year, and I have a renter that's going to be moving in July 1st, and today is June 26th, and I just passed final inspection 2 days ago, so that's cutting it a little bit close, and so I would just we were really lucky working with great contractors, and so just providing more kind of breathing room. But it never at any point felt like it was a mad dash, and I'd say part of that is just great luck with responsive contractors. Yeah.
Great. Well, we got a lot of enthusiastic people out here today. We had around 50 people coming through the house, and
Yeah.
they were all impressed and felt like they understood how someone could easily live in and enjoy this beautiful space.
Yeah.
And so anything else that you think of that might help people in similar projects?
Well, I just wanted to share that. So I'm the owner of this property and acted as the general contractor for the project. And so I've had some experience doing some renovation work. There was a learning curve, and it was manageable, right? And so I would encourage people who have the time. And, you know, it was a less than part-time, sometimes more time intensive, but for someone who has an inclination towards project management, this is definitely manageable, and it probably saved me $50,000 in management costs, and so I was able to meet my budget objective of $100,000 for the whole project, including lots of other infrastructure and landscaping for the entire property. So a lot of value that will ultimately provide housing, attractive housing, affordable housing, and provide valuable income for my family.
Well, thanks, Eric, for showing this off. And just the last thing, it may be helpful to know what you expect in rent for this approximately
Sure.
for the payback period.
Yeah. So again, the all-in was about $100,000, and I paid for that in cash. And then we'll be renting it for about $1,500, and that
Okay.
includes the utilities and other amenities like internet and laundry. And then this will this improvement will be reassessed for property taxes. So my property taxes will go up, but I anticipate that we'll probably bring in about $1,200 a month in gross or in net income, which is about $15,000 per year, which would pay for this in about 6.5 years,
Okay.
and then provide an ongoing cash flow for my family in perpetuity.
Wonderful. 6.5 year payback on this approximately $100,000 investment, and a beautiful, affordable, moderate income, affordable space for someone who needs it.
Yeah.
So win all around. Thanks, Eric.
Yeah, thank you.